I think the first conversation I had with Michael Ross was, my producer, was really, can we make this film? You know, I mean, it was so much bigger than anything that we had ever done before. It was so much more global that I think some of the initial conversation was like, are we crazy for going after this? You know, like, could we actually pull this off?
This was a really opportunity for us to say, like, this is like a doorway to these huge problems that we can't begin to really get our heads around, which are global poverty and inequality and environmental destruction. And here is this single industry. This is a great path to go down with a viewer to begin to explore some of these bigger areas and to allow us to begin to challenge and question some of the norms of the way things that are done.
The heart from the beginning was like, this is a film about connecting a bunch of pieces that we kind of vaguely know are true of the world, but we've never seen them all put together. You know, these things that have been disconnected up until now in your mind, let's connect them. You know, let's take something like buying a t-shirt at the mall, and let's connect that to these things all the way over here that you never had thought of before.
I think so many times, you know, the film is very heavy, but I think behind, you know, behind the scenes and with all the people that we interacted with, including Shima and Safia, there was just mass amounts of laughter. Michael, what have you been doing?
Getting the hands to me. 5-0, 5-1. They kept making fun of me. They kept coming up going, yeah, I get it, I'm out of shape.
And we had so many moments of joking about food and, you know, back and forth and all these things. And so I think in a lot of ways, like, humor carried us through.
The three of us who kind of made up the core of the team, you know, we'd have help in these countries, but it was the three of us. I couldn't have made the film with anyone else. You know, I couldn't have sustained the amount of challenges, physical, mental, emotional, that we went through.
I'm a perfectionist by nature, which plays really well into production sound. And starting this film after the first day in Bangladesh, I realized that I had to throw that out the window. These environments were not sound mixer friendly. There are noisy fans, there are honking horns every second of every day in these countries. So I had to really figure out what was important for me to capture and what was not.
We edited kind of throughout the whole time we were shooting, on airplanes and trains and buses and almost any time we got. The most challenging thing in the edit was there are a lot of stories that you could tell from the footage that we captured, and there are a lot of different things you could focus on or emphasize. And so I think finding a way to weave all these stories together into one cohesive story that makes sense, that's inviting, that's digestible, that's challenging, and also memorable.
You finally get to a stage one day where something clicks, something works, and you realize that the film that you thought and wanted and have been hoping that you would make you've made. So the exciting part about that is then that, you know, you've been working with, at that point, we've been working with rough audio. The footage is just, it's all flat. It's not shot, you know, it doesn't have any color depth or anything. And so then you begin to bring in these other people.
Really creating a dynamic so that it's not just one consistent level throughout the film, and also creating a believable realm that you're in. Because we're in so many different places and so many different environments, I needed to make it seem as cohesive as possible, but also have it dynamic.
The sound sort of came out of experiment, and also I think a lot of it is just accident. You know, You just keep searching for things and throwing things against picture, and until something like, oh wow, that really works. And I remember there was one specific scene, the Rana Plaza scene, where it was kind of like, I think we went back and forth a couple times until there was a specific sound we found that just sort of like, wow, that really captures exactly what we're going for, like this sort of abandonment and loss of hope in these people. And the first time you hear that music being played by a real orchestra, it's pretty special. So, there at the actual session we have the picture up on the screen, and then we have the whole orchestra, out on the stage, and then we're able to watch it back with the picture as they're playing and kind of see the whole thing come together in that moment.
Well, when you believe in a story being told, it takes you to a different level. When you believe in the content being created, it really elevates you to excellence. It makes you want to spend those extra hours, spend those extra days making it just perfect.
As you go, I think you get more and more involved because you start to realize how, especially this one, how important these people's lives are. And then the more times you watch, the more nuances you see, and the more important these people's lives become to you. It just starts to move you more and more, and then it encourages you to do more and try to do your best. So for this one, it was pretty special.
We need to begin as a society, and I'd like to see, I consider myself part of this, is like raising these voices and these questions up to the mainstream, because I think there's these things that part of what we uncover in the film that are just never questioned in our, childhood or society, and they go into all areas of industry. I mean, they affect our work life, they affect all the products we buy, and so how do we raise that conversation? And I think the film is really a first step in that way, and I think it's a great way for people to, really spend 92 minutes of their life and to really feel like, I hope it leads them on their own journey.
Our world is made up by people, men and women, everyday people who make choices. And those choices, both big and small, serve to lead us in a direction that becomes history. And I think we think very passively sometimes. I think for me growing up, I've lived too long in this narrative that has seen myself as a consumer, and that has seen myself as someone on the sidelines of history, someone that's simply observing or taking in things. I think walking away from this film, it's like I have just this heightened sense of both the gift and the honor that my life is. And I hope that I use that gift well. And I hope that people watching a film like this, I hope that what this film gives them is an invitation to be a part of making the kind of world that they want to live in.